start recording. Start streaming. Boom. Alright. Let me know if and when you can see the stream. It says I'm live, so.
Let me see what we got here. Not yet.
And even though we always do it, there's not really much of an element of waiting for people to come in, since for the most part, fuck all people do come in, but hey, I can
But for some reason, watch the recording.
Yeah, the recording always does so much better than the actual stream. I don't know why, but I mean, hey, for this
Probably
one,
should
I
have
guess
tweeted it out beforehand, but
I did tweet out a thing earlier, and also this
fair.
time we can piggyback off Jay's name, can't we? So.
Ah, yes, delicious clout.
I'm here to bring I'm doing a Rick and Morty bit where they're like, hey, the joke isn't funny, but we're saying it slowly, so please.
Yeah,
sorry, I'm doing a Rick and Morty series 5 bit where the joke isn't funny, but we're saying it slowly, so please laugh.
If you just stutter hard enough, then people will laugh at it.
I'd love to have a burp to throw in the middle of it as well, but I don't, unfortunately.
No, we can't force those. We can try, but we never mind.
I'm
we
too
apparently
pure to
can't
burp.
force them.
I've always been able to like burp on command. Like I'm one of the only few people I know who can, but like I can do it.
Yeah, no, that ain't me, man. Like the only time I can like burp on command is when I'm already feeling like really nauseous. Also, your stream is not coming up for me. Oh wait, no, never mind. There it is.
All right, let me just need to grab a link to it so I can tweet out a thing.
Delicious.
There we go. Share, copy that link.
Oh, that's what you...
Yeah,
You know what, George? Good job mimicking the style.
I'm pretty proud. I'm pretty proud of the art we got for this.
It just works.
Alright, I guess we can wait like...
It does.
I guess we can wait a couple minutes to see if anybody gets in, but then beyond that, again, there's never going to be that many people, so we don't need to delay too long.
Mm-hmm. Here, let me at least get this good stuff on Discord.
Oh yeah, I always forget to post in the Discord.
Well, usually we have bots for that, but they don't do that shit with streams. They only do it with the upload.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help the fact that our server is completely dead, so it probably doesn't even really matter anyway. But
that's beside the point.
Literally, the only people only message in promotion anymore. No one's chatted in Gen since like July.
Yeah.
Like we could promote it more, but it's like only one person's ever gonna hop in at a time, and then they're just gonna see it's dead, and then immediately back out again. So
just promote harder, easy.
Yeah, let me get the Discord visual back. There we go.
Yes, I'm fully aware that I'm adding everyone. That's why I typed out at everyone. Please, Discord.
Alright, we've got one person I don't recognize in chat saying hi. Oh my god, hi. Well, hi, the one Foxy. So, we may as well take that as our cue to begin, really.
We have the one Foxy and Kibo roasting George. You love to see it.
Because, of course, he is.
It's his only purpose in life.
Alright, let's just start this. Hello, we're back once again. Rick and Morty, Season 6, Episode 6, Juricksic Mort. It's the mid-season hiatus that they're doing ahead of Episode 6 instead of Episode 5, which is strange, but whatever, we're doing it. Obviously, we got me and Sarek here, but also since it's the mid-season hiatus, we got special guest Jay Exci. She's here.
Hello.
Guys,
Yes,
delicious.
I managed to get a big YouTuber on my stream. Are you proud of me? This is a big moment. I feel like
I'm fucking proud of you.
I feel like I need praise in the chat for managing to accomplish getting a big YouTuber here.
What do you mean, George Not Found? You have 10 million subscribers.
Oh, don't do my boy like that. Jay, you don't understand. We literally just finished roasting him about that like 2 days ago.
And I'm just going to say the same thing that I always tell you guys. I promise on my life it is genuinely true. I had not heard of George Not Found when I first came up with that name. It wasn't until like a good couple months later that I found out about him, and then I liked the name too much to be bothered to change it.
Well, I mean,
we're still going to roast
it's also
for it.
not your fault that you're called George. Like,
there was no other way. It was always going to be unoriginal. There was always going to be another George out there.
My YouTube name should have literally just been George, so I could copy even more people. Literally just George.
To be fair, I told you to just go with Gurgi because it was a nickname that stuck, and I don't think there are many Gurgis out there, but no, you had to be George Not Found.
I'm just gonna move on. Fanto Phantasma says, I hate Rickenham Auto. Me too, bro. Me too. Never been a big fan of that shit. But yeah, so we got Jay here, who's made a decent amount of Rick and Morty content in the past. I think during season 5 you were doing streams with Stu. Is that right, or have I just made that up?
We did a series 4 stream. We did one big stream where we went through all the episodes, and that was fun.
Right.
All of them.
And you made like a video a couple years ago, didn't you? Like a commentary video on Rick and Morty.
It was called Rick and Morty is a dumb show with amazing writing.
That's actually one that I don't think I've seen yet. Although
I have high praise for Pickle Rick, which people mention to me sometimes with varying degrees of emotion behind bringing it up.
Also, I like how the stream is. I like how the stream isn't even on your channel, Jay. Yet someone's already said in chat, "Give Stu money." Stu's not even here. I mean, you can
still
give
receive money.
You can give one of us money if you wish. I'm not gonna I
could use it.
I'm not gonna fight back against that. But yeah, so I'll tell you what then. Since you're here, Jay, if you'd like to bring us up to speed, what's overall been your thoughts on like Rick and Morty over like the last few years? I reckon you're more than likely of the opinion that it's devolved pretty bad, didn't you? I'm assuming.
So yeah, I really liked Series 4, but I only liked it on the sort of basis of enjoying the individual episodes, and in terms of the continuity and feeling like, you know, in touch with the characters and where they were at with their arcs. I felt that it was pretty fucked. Then with Series 5, I was like, wow, episodes 1, 2, and 3 were great, and then something just flipped.
Something went wrong.
Yeah. There was not a single episode of the show that I got anything out of beyond me going, maybe it was okay. I'd have to rewatch it to check, and then not being inclined to rewatch it to really figure out how I felt about it. Series 6 is the only series of the show that I have not felt the need to actually really watch. I've just sort of been dipping in and out as I've like heard things that interest me about the episodes. And
wait, are you telling me you weren't interested in Jerry fucks his mom the episode?
There are a few like of the two I haven't seen. That was the most. That's the one I've most considered going, oh, I could watch it now, but then I always just end up doing something else.
That's fair.
It's ironic because we ended up actually really enjoying that one, not for Jerry fucking his mum, but we actually thought the plot was like genuinely quite creative with some funny
It was a
moments.
really funny episode.
Yeah.
Like the comedy was just on point.
I do want to watch it at some point. I do like laughing at some Rick and Morty.
Yes.
But yeah, in terms of the ones that I've seen, I find that they tend to be just sort of like, if these were in like series 3 or 4, I would consider them the one that's subpar but like passable.
Right.
You know, like the Slut Dragon episode or the Vindicators episode. Even though I think the Vindicators episode is probably better than most of them, but I've not given that substantial thought.
I don't know, the Dragon one was really bad as far as I remember.
Yeah, the Dragon episode is one of like the worst ones. The Vindicators episode, for me, that's just more of like a middling one. Like, it's not phenomenal. It's not like one of the biggest piece of trash in the show. I can appreciate that one more for the actual character like driven stuff between Rick and Morty than the actual plot itself for that one, honestly.
I like Noob.
I mean, Noob's always a great addition, but going back to what you said, Jay, yeah, that's the thing, innit? Because like Series 4, I find that it gets a lot of flack, but like it genuinely has some like great episodes. It has kind of like a weak first half, But I remember like watching the second half and being like, dude, it feels like we're almost pretty much back to peak Rick and Morty. Like, there's some great stuff here. And then season 5 rolls around, and first 2 episodes really good. A lot of people really rave about the 3rd episode. Personally, I think it's like kind of half great and half kind of sucks. I do like Morty and Planetina, but I also am really not a fan of Rick and Summer's subplot. I think that one kind of sucks. And then from there, it just dives back off a fucking cliff. I do think the season picks up near the end, though. Like, Rick going into Bird Person's mind, I do think that's genuinely a new classic. That one is really fucking good. And then part 1 to the finale, I think, is really good. And then part 2 just kind of just does whatever the fuck. And it's like, shock, revelation,
Yeah. And what I find with it is that I'm just finding the new episodes that come out incredibly unmemorable, even when I like them.
Yeah, no, I can back that.
They don't. Series 1, 2, and 3 of Rick and Morty, and 4 for a lot of it, lived rent free in my head after I watched the episodes.
Yeah,
they always had moments, ideas,
and
concepts that I would think back to, and just that would stick around in my mind for an extremely long time. Whereas I have seen a lot of Series 6 and was struggling to remember what all the episodes were before the call. Maybe my brain is deteriorating, but I would prefer to blame Rick and Morty.
Of course, because review YouTubers / commentary YouTubers, it's kind of like our thing, so we kind of just have to assume it's that in order to sleep at night.
Yeah,
it's the only option.
Of course.
Although to be fair, like I feel some of that as well. Like it's not living rent free in my head at all. Like here's the thing, I loved the Die Hard episode. It's beautiful, but I'm not referencing it constantly. So, I mean, does that say something about me or the show?
Well, that's the thing, like, because all there really is to remember about it is Summer just going, die hard, die hard, die hard.
George, you're just mad because you can't appreciate a beautiful piece of art.
It's not that great an episode, man.
It's the best episode.
I'm glad you enjoy it. It's not for me, okay? We may as well, I guess, catch up on what we've been thinking of Series 6 so far. I don't know what you thought of the premiere for Season 6, Jay, but like us over here, we loved it. We thought the premiere for Season 6 was awesome. That's one that does stick in my mind. For me, personally, that's on par with the Season 3 premiere, for me, personally, I reckon.
I remember thinking the dialogue was bad, and that's broadly it.
Just finding the dialogue bad. And...
it was a little clunky at times, but I think it usually was funny at least.
Yeah, and episode 2, you really enjoyed, Sarek. I found kind of weak overall. That was probably the first one we disagreed on. And I genuinely can't remember what we thought of episode 3. Did we like episode 3? Beth fucking herself? Did we enjoy it?
I think so. I think it was a very serviceable plot episode with a lot of great character moments, but not a lot of good comedy.
Yeah, I don't remember finding it.
Except for the ending. The ending, I was fucking dying at the end.
Wait,
when everyone was just crying at the dinner table.
Oh, right, yeah. I mean, that kind of tells you what you need to know. I couldn't fucking remember the ending. And then episode 4, that's Night Family, right?
Night People.
Yeah. At first, when we first watched it, because we watched it once and then we later came back for the stream. When we first watched it, we thought it kind of sucked. We thought it was just kind of a nothing burger of an episode. But then when we rewatched it in preparation for the stream, we actually thought it improved a lot on rewatch. I don't think it got great or anything, but it became more enjoyable.
It didn't get too much funnier, but as a plot and character episode, I really liked it.
The Dan Harmon, the Dan Harmon episode, the Night People episode felt to me like Dan Harmon being there but not really trying, and that there were some great jokes in that I genuinely really enjoyed. The Wubba Lubba Dub Dub was a great little fun thing. I don't know. I also enjoyed just Rick and Morty standing there with their abs and their crop tops. I thought that was just a great visual gag. There was loads of stuff in there that felt this is really within the spirit of Rick and Morty humor that I loved from all the way from the first series.
Yeah.
But then the episode it was inside, while I didn't think it was atrociously catastrophic or anything, I've had this conversation with a few people now where So, the classic Rick and Morty would always take like some sci-fi premise and actually consider the implications of it, or dig deep into one specific aspect of it in a way that you're not expecting it to.
Yeah.
Like with the Meeseeks, right? You've got something that's just sort of simple on paper, but the episode itself is going to dig into an aspect of it that's that you might not expect it to, and is interesting. Whereas with the Night People, and the whole point of all of that is in essence, it's taking sci-fi premises and things like this and exploring aspects of it that often get ignored and overlooked.
Yeah.
Whereas with the Night People episode, I see what they did with it broadly as the almost default unimaginative B-movie story that you would do with that premise. Oh, we've got some technology that lets us wake up in the night, or not even wake up, it lets us program our bodies while we're sleeping to do things while we're asleep. What's the most unimaginative story you can do that? Well, okay, the unimaginative story you can do with that. Okay, the Night People like turn against us and they try to fight the living, waking day people. And that's broadly it. There's not really anything interesting added to it. It's the most generic premise you could imagine with most generic continuation you could imagine with the premise they introduce, even though the episode is pretty funny at places.
I can see that. Like the concept for the plot itself is pretty unoriginal, but also it's just such a fun game of wits that we get to watch play out. Like there were times when I felt like I was watching fucking Death Note with that episode, man. Just
that was
kind
of
even though some of it was predictable.
It was like, like the plot was like a good idea on the surface, like a really creative premise, but it's more just they didn't really take it in any like direction that was kind of out there. It was more just what you'd expect, and it felt kind of forced, didn't it? Because I remember we were watching it and then we were like, shouldn't Rick see this kind of thing coming a mile away? Like there was a reason he wouldn't have wanted the rest of the family to get their hands on his tech, but then he just gives in really easily to Summer's sigh. And then like when the Night People start demanding that, like, well, not really demanding, but like asking them to like rinse their dishes a little bit, Rick's like, no, fuck you, he can't do that. And it's kind of like, surely Rick would know that he's making this worse. But we kind of forgave it because, like, again, we found some of the jokes funny, and like they did the sort of horror kind of homage atmosphere they were going for quite well with like some of the visuals and the music and everything. So
the art style was like fucking gorgeous when it wanted to get scary.
Oh yeah, like it definitely had its merits, and I accidentally cut you off while you were mid-sentence, Zach, so I'm sorry, you may continue.
Oh, right. Even though it was predictable at times with like fucking like, oh, night summer was actually real summer and you got fucked up, but like, or sorry, other way around. It was still really fun to watch play out, especially for the car chase scene. And again, the final confrontation was just fucking hysterical. Everyone knocking each other out and waking themselves up again.
Yeah. Like that was definitely a creative way to play with it, and like the visual gags of like, what are we gonna do? Oh, there's a truck full of Adderall approaching us. Let's fucking crash it so we can stay awake.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, sorry.
It's also like George and I talked this to death, but just to catch Jay up, like we really liked the Summer character development. That like Summer like kind of really deeply resents Rick for shit that he doesn't technically do anymore. Like Rick treats Summer a lot better now, but the Night Summer is basically just like season 2 Summer, and she's still pissed off about what happened during season 2.
Yeah. So like that's probably the main takeaway from the episode, really. Like the whole thing of Night Summer's persona being hidden away inside Summer for ages. Like it seems like it's really setting up like an evil Summer versus Rick arc or something, which is probably the most interesting thing to take from it, to be honest, really.
Hunger Games Summer.
Yeah. And then after that was obviously the fortune cookies and Jerry fucking his mum, which Jay hasn't seen, but I just know there isn't even really that much to say other than just like, despite that god-awful premise, we actually did really enjoy it. Like it kind of does the inverse of what we were saying Night Family does, where it's like it actually takes its premise to the full potential. You've got like those fight scenes of the people are using their fortunes like fucking video game power-ups, and it's really cool. Like I won't delve any further as to not spoil any of it for you, Jay, but like I think it does like what Night Family's premise lacks, where it actually takes it in a pretty creative direction premise wise.
It makes me happy. Also, we haven't talked about the most recent episode at all.
I was literally just about to say, and now we're on to the most recent episode, and I'll do what I usually do, and we'll go around the table. I'll start with you, Jay. The episode we just watched? What did you think of it? Overall thoughts? What are we saying?
I thought it was fine. I liked watching it, and that's broadly, I think, all I'm gonna take from it. Having seen it twice now, I think that's something that's like, yeah. That was fun, and that will be it. I don't imagine it's going to stick in my mind particularly hard. I enjoyed a lot of the scenes with the dinosaurs patronizing various characters. I thought they were really funny. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing I ever take from this episode. I liked seeing Rick being patronized. It was fun.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it is an enjoyable episode, but there isn't really all that much to take from it. I mean, at least
why does that feel more insulting than actually insulting the episode?
Well, like, at least it's not another episode that's just like offensively fucking dog shit. Like, at least it's an episode where it's like, yeah, it was fine, I suppose.
I mean, I kind of feel like I am currently the dinosaurs talking to Rick, talking about this episode in a... I don't know, I feel like it's the same kind of vibe. Like, you guys were trying your best, and you've not done, like, as bad as you could. I like... So, do you guys want to make some more Marvel movies?
You've evolved beyond destructive criticism, so you're just gonna say that every Rick and Morty episode is kinda aight?
Yeah.
Well, see, like, here's the interesting part about it, and I remember, like, I said this on your stream, Jay. I said this about Doctor Who. It was like, in my opinion, the worst thing a Doctor Who episode can be is boring, and I kind of extrapolate that to Rick and Morty, where it's like, this show was known for being able to, like, just zip between infinite universes and do practically anything, and constantly coming up with these mind-bending, like, irreverent, off-the-wall concepts. So, for an episode to just be just kind of fine and not really stick in your mind all that much. I mean, you joke about it, Sarek, but, like, in a way, you could argue that's kind of even worse than if an episode, like, stuck in your mind as being outrageously terrible. If it just kind of slides right off your brain immediately after viewing.
Like, I'm always going to remember the Snake time travel episode just because it's a really stupid time travel story, and it's objectively bad at trying to be a time travel story, which, yes, was the point, but it's still a bad time travel story. But at least I'm talking about it.
Yeah, like, the fact that, like, they've got a time travel story which is bad pretty much by design to, like, emulate Rick's distaste for time travel shit, like, yeah, that's a good idea. It doesn't stop the story being fucking stupid.
I think,
snakes, man.
With, like, boring and forgettable episodes, though, it's like, I don't think I'm ever going to in any way forget the horse cum episode.
I mean, no, definitely not.
But that's because it was, after the first 3 episodes of the series, which I thought were really good, and then we were hit with that, and I remember just being in call watching it, with like I remember I was watching it with Fringy and Mauler, and I think I just have a clear memory of Fringy's just mind going, wait, was that bad? I think it was bad.
God damn. Confusion of it being actually awful.
But in the middle of a season of like episodes, I don't remember what was in the middle of that series. If they just switched around the order, the only reason I remember that episode is because where it was, right? I would have found it extremely boring in a show of episodes that were entirely like that, but I was watching it going, what the fuck? So
I think
I guess
the episode afterwards was the turkey one, which personally I thought was just as bad as the sperm one, if not worse. I didn't like that one as much either. After that
I remember being pretty bored, yeah.
I think it was the pain demons before the turkey ones, which I also thought was just as bad.
The pain demons one, I think that might have been after turkeys, but, like, I actually thought, in terms of that mid-season slump in season 5, I honestly thought the pain demons was probably the best one there. It still wasn't good, but, like, it's probably, in my opinion, the most passable one out of those 4, like, dog shit middling season 5 episodes, personally.
Wait, were the pain demons their own episode? I thought that was just a B plot to like the turkey episode or some shit.
That was the A plot. The B plot is that cool kid coming over to see Morty and Summer, and they go on a joyride with Rick's car. That was the B plot of that.
Oh right, where they assassinate Morty and Summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, I thought that one was alright, and then after that was the Gotron episode, which can also go fuck itself, really.
I mean, yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah. And
I'm usually one to play devil's advocate, but like
Alright,
I like the narration.
Let's go around the table once more again. Sag, what did you think of the episode we just watched? You got any new opinions to offer up?
Okay, let's just get this out of the way. The ending was it's got the best post-credit scene in any Rick and Morty episode ever. It's so the entire episode is a very subtle build-up to the joke that they really do just like shredding on fucking shit skateboards. Like
you're very easy to please, man. Just pop dinosaurs skating in front of him and he's golden.
Listen, no, there's layers. There's layers to the joke, and the layers were masterfully crafted, okay? It was a one-off line and a bunch of other one-off lines, and one of them got it right. It's a good joke. It is the perfect setup with a perfect punchline. That's comedy.
It was about the actual episode.
The patronizing was very entertaining. I really liked how the president was represented. He wants the power to just keep fucking shit up. I'm a little confused by the capitalism implications because capitalism no longer exists in the world, but ads still exist, and the dinosaurs wanted them to keep making Marvel movies despite the lack of capitalism, and I'm just a little confused as to how they were good. I'm confused as to how the world was working at that point. I mean, don't get me wrong, communism. It's a beautiful concept, but I don't see what the dinosaurs' plan was.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like that kind of mirrors the same thoughts I've had about a lot of season 6 episodes, where it's like it's very funny and very watchable, but followed by like a big like detracting thing about it. It's like this episode again, very watchable, very fun, very entertaining, but it's like the episode to me felt very thrown together. The pacing of this thing was fucking all over the place. Like, I really think we had like a really cool idea with the implications of like, you know, because humans always wanting free time, always working too much. So they're like, you know what, give us that free time. And the dinosaurs are like, it's all right, bro, I got you. And like, you could have easily explored the implications of that. And they kind of do, but on a really superficial surface level way. And what we get in place of that is the episode jumping around for all these different things. Like, you know, Rick's like, getting pissed off about like what skeletons they have in their closet, and then you know Rick's like hosting the Oscars, and it just kind of jumps about all over the place in service of these scenes where it's like, yeah, they've got funny stuff in them, but it doesn't really service what could have been a really cool premise.
It's also a little, I literally just realized this, it kind of breaks so the central finite curve, the entire point of that is that Rick will always be the smartest man in the universe in whatever universe he's in, and this is well, actually, no, okay, I get it now, because Rick went to a new universe, and the finite curve was destroyed, therefore, this is what happens in a universe where Rick's not, okay, that just went together in my head, never mind.
Yeah, like, that's the thing.
They just now left the central finite curve, and we're seeing the implications of that. Like, hey, by the way, dinosaurs, they're smarter than Rick.
Exactly, yeah. Like, we're now seeing the implications of, like, well, I say we're seeing the implications. We're now seeing, like, you know, beings that can be smarter than Rick actually appear in the show. But that's the thing as well. Like, that's also a really interesting, like, thing to explore, and like it seems like it's setting up at the start when it reminds you of like the tear in the fabric of the universe or whatever the fuck it is, but then again it doesn't really delve into that quite as much. And I'm not even 100% sure what I'd be saying I want from this really, but like it feels like it could have delved such more into that aspect. Like they felt like they could have clashed and butted heads a lot more, but again it just felt very surface level, so that the pace could just jump around to wherever the fuck the writers thought the jokes were at, really.
Also, thank you, Rover Plush. We very much appreciate your contributions.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's just I honestly have a feeling this is going to end up being like a relatively short stream compared to some of the others because there honestly isn't even all that much to say.
There really isn't that much to talk about other than here's the thing. You mentioned the pacing, right? I think the pacing wasn't that bad. The pacing included a lot of jump cuts, but those were usually like for like these weird one-off gags, like, oh fuck, they're coming back. It's like, oh no, I'll take care of this. And like the 2 jump cuts where Rick and Morty are just kind of like arguing and then it jumps.
Yeah.
Like it feels like all the jump cuts feel like they were meant for commercial breaks so we can set up for the next scene, but there were too many jump cuts to have that many commercial breaks in the episode.
Yeah, it's really, really bizarre. I mean, doesn't like America also have way more commercial breaks than it does over here? I'm pretty sure it does.
For a show like Rick and Morty, I think it's just one ad per, like an ad between episodes and one ad during the episode.
Maybe not then, but like I swear I remember people talking about like how ridiculous the commercial breaks in like on American TV are, and like being over there myself and like thinking it was kind of mad. But then they also literally overlay ads on top of episodes of TV sometimes, which is nuts to think about to me.
Have you?
Yeah,
really?
When I was in the US, I remember turning on the TV and thinking, man, these ads are being laid on thick, but I wasn't watching Rick and Morty, so I don't really, it's obviously going to differ from like station to station and like the type of content, right? So
well, you get like 2 commercial breaks per like 40-minute episode. So like a 45-minute show will end up being like an hour of runtime. Sometimes you'll get 3. Movies, like channels that typically air movies, you'll get like a few commercial breaks like every 20 minutes or so. Or no, like more like you get a commercial break after like 30 minutes of the movie, but then towards the end of the movie, you'll just get a fuck ton of them. Just like every 10 minutes, boom, commercial.
It's weird.
It's like, you're invested in the movie now. You got to see how it ends, so we're just going to hit you with everything.
I can only assume that, like Jay said, it depends on the station. We'll move on to like talking about the actual episode instead. But one thing I'm curious about actually, while we're on this topic side, does like America have like a channel that's kind of like the BBC where they don't actually run ads? I'd assume there's no channels in America like that, are there?
I
mean, there's no state-funded channels.
That's the thing. Yeah, like the BBC can only really do that because it's partially state-funded.
I think so. I've seen channels that like only run like movies, and I think one of those channels that I've seen would run them without ads.
Okay.
But like there might have still been ads like between the movies. I don't know. Like I'm not usually on the movie channel very often. Like I'd say I have better things to do with my time, but I really fucking don't. But that's beside the point.
One thing
I just don't watch movies on TV.
Nah, that's fair enough. Like, who the fuck does anymore? One thing I'm actually quite curious to like hear about what you think, Jay, is about specifically how the characterization has evolved. Like, the plot, character, and theming, all that stuff. Like how Rick's characterization has evolved over the course of like the last couple of seasons. Because when people review Rick and Morty now and talk about it now, for like what I hear a lot of is like how the characterization devolves, and I think at least for the most part in season 6 Rick is characterized quite well, at least in a way that's consistent with how he's developed over the last couple seasons. So I'm curious to like hear what you think about like Rick's characterization in recent like say the last couple seasons.
Honestly, of basically all the characters, I'm struggling to keep track of where they are now. Ever since series 4, I just struggle to keep track of what's going on with them, where they're at, and what kind of things they are and aren't likely to do beyond the vague strokes of their original characters from the first 3 seasons. I don't. The thing is, there's just so much content packed into even like a bad Rick and Morty episode, and so many character moments and character decisions that I genuinely think I'm gonna struggle to keep track of how the characterization is going unless I sit through and comb through it all very deliberately. And I think that's probably a bad sign because it wasn't hard to keep track of in the first 3 seasons. I knew where they were all at. Mm-hmm. I'd imagine there's probably some inconsistency in there, but unless I do a big research I'm not going to be able to point my finger at where I think it is.
You can save the energy because I can actually back you up on this. I've been watching every episode as it comes out, and I can tell you that it is pretty inconsistent. And I'm also like, I've seen all the recent episodes of Rick and Morty, many of which multiple times, most of which on the plane. But I can tell you that it's really just it's pretty bad. Like, there is a trend with like Morty maturing, Rick caring about his family more, but every so often you'll just get these huge setbacks like the horse cum episode where it's just fucking like Morty being stupid again for no reason. Like this recent episode with the dinosaurs like was fairly consistent with all the characters, but like that's only after, for example, the Night Family episode where Rick was just fucking stupid.
Yeah, and like that's the interesting thing, isn't it? Because like I think season 4 and onward was where they really started to lean a lot more heavily into new writers, wasn't it? So you get a lot of new writers in who like maybe know that like the first couple of seasons are the really iconic ones, so they don't really pay any mind to the more recent development, and they kind of just fall back on what they know Rick and Morty to be like from those first couple of seasons. I don't necessarily want to use the word flanderized. I want to give like at least a little bit more credit than that. But I think oftentimes the episodes that get renowned as the worst, as well as having like really stupid and frustrating plots, are also the ones where like they really pay no mind to how the characters should be acting in terms of where they're at the moment, so they kind of just fall back on their more bare bones traits.
They just kind of do what they have to do to make the plot happen, which is not a good sign.
Yeah, but I think so far season 6 has been... I think season 6 has remedied that for the most part, at least so far. I can't... Other than, like, the occasional moment of, like, Rick being, like, needlessly dumb or, like, needlessly agitated, I think Night Family is probably the most egregious example of that, where it happens purely to advance the plot. I don't think that for the most part that's plagued this season too much. I think for the most part it's been pretty consistent, and I think this episode was probably a decent example of good characterization for these characters should be, for the most part, I'd say.
I can agree with that, although we only have half a season to talk about, which is not a good sign. That we can say that stuff like that has already happened.
Well, the thing that I struggle with is even when the characters are, supposedly being written in the way that they should be acting now, when it's laid on top of such an inconsistent like groundwork from previous episodes, I struggle to get a grip on where they even should be now.
Yeah.
It's just sort of what I honestly feel it needs is like a not hard reset, a soft reset between seasons where it's like, maybe we've skipped an amount of time and the characters are in new places now, and the season premiere of like say series 7 is dedicated to showing us where the characters are now, and then they stick to that. That's really what I want from this to salvage the feeling of knowing what the fuck is going on with any of these people.
Well, to be fair, we do kind of have that, because most season finales and like season premieres, they have that like soft reset vibe. Like especially this recent premiere, it kind of told us where everyone is, like character wise. The problem is they just don't fucking stick with it. Like, we're getting the soft reset, they're just not sticking with it, like you said. So it's just not really effective.
Well, it wasn't
it's a machine that's not built consistently.
It wasn't even necessarily really a soft reset, because like it might have been character-wise, but plot-wise, like season 6's premiere continues directly on from like the season 5 finale. Like they literally take place like immediately one after another. Whereas,
yeah, I mean character-wise, like fucking like it basically tells us explicitly what the characters are supposed to be feeling. Like it gives us a not reset but reestablishment.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's kind of difficult to talk about for the reasons that you've outlined, because again, I see why they've started to fall back on new writers, because like originally the show was only coming out every like year and a half to 2 years, and they wanted to start putting it out every year. But it's kind of hard to ignore that like that decision like from then on was when the show kind of started to be known as going downhill. So I guess it's kind of like a trade-off, like whether you'd rather wait longer or whether you'd rather get it sooner at the cost of potentially more quality stories. It's a weird one.
Longer waits, longer waits. More like series. I'll settle for series 3 quality. Longer waits.
Oh,
I'd
I
take that.
absolutely
Yeah,
would. Yeah, I absolutely would.
Series 3 was pretty good. Like we appreciate the third.
It's
I
funny.
mean,
though,
I really
because-
like series 3, but it's no series like 1 or 2, right? It's the I
Yeah,
really like it. I think it's like, if series 1 and 2 are 10, I think it's a 9, but
I can back
I
that,
will
to be
happily
honest, yeah.
take that.
wasn't it season 5 that gave us Mr. Nimbus?
It was, yeah. That was the
All
premiere
right,
of season
give me
5.
more season 5.
Give me more series 5 episodes 1 to 3 and I'll be very happy.
Yeah, give me Mr. Nimbus again, and I will call season 6 my favorite season. Give me that.
Honestly,
Come on.
if they gave up trying to do consistent characterization and were just like, yeah, every new episode of Rick and Morty is a new universe in which like we're dealing with a different Rick and a different Morty, and they just established what's important for that episode. I'd be much happier to just watch single one and done self-contained stories about people who are very similar but technically different characters.
I wouldn't mind that for like one season.
I can see a
Trying
season.
I'm
keep
too
track
attached
of
to these
this.
guys.
I could see like
Well,
one season doing that.
The thing is that like I if you said that to me after like series 3, I would have hated it as a concept, but after having watched so many seasons of them being hard to keep track of where they are, I honestly feel like that's what we're getting anyway, except bad because they're actually supposed to be the same Ricks and Mortys.
Yeah.
Basically, what that would be a plaster to stop the thing that's happening from being a problem.
It's not really solving the problem, it's just like, it's correcting the rest of the style around the problem.
Well, it would be sort of... It would be making the problem a deliberate aspect of the style that can then be utilized to enhance the media rather than something that's actively detrimental to it.
Mm-hmm. I do respect the complexity, but also I prefer they just stopped being inconsistent with the fucking characters.
I mean, yeah.
Like...
I'll tell you what, actually, the one Foxy in chat's brought up something actually quite interesting. They've said, hot take maybe, Rick and Morty would have been so good if it had a fixed ending and wasn't going to go on seemingly forever, because I feel like that's the reason the character development and story is all over the place. They're having to devolve the story to go on longer, and I do think that is a very good point, because I can imagine back in like the development of, say, season 1 and 2, like they maybe didn't know how long the show was going to go on for, and they probably did have a ending in sight. And then, like a good 7 or 8 more seasons got commissioned by Adult Swim and asked to come out every year, so they probably felt like they had to stretch it out more. And who's to say that even after we reach that end, which is going to be like, what, season 10, season 11, that they might just be like, you know what, now we are doing even more, and we're going to have it carry on even further. I have a feeling that that's probably... I mean, I'm far from the first person to say this, but that will more than likely be a big reason behind, like, the downgrade in quality in terms of the character writing and character development, because back in the day they probably could have kept it to that consistent same team working on the writing, whereas now they've had to do even more and released at a faster pace. They're probably having to like rely on more new names and new writers, and not to like slate those writers too much, but there's less of that core understanding of the original vision of the show and where it was going to go, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm sure the original writers like had some semblance of... Well, actually, I don't even know if I agree with that, because something that came up in a lot of interviews when Evil Morty was still something that was talked about was that like, yeah, no, we're figuring out what we're gonna do with him. I don't think there's that much like authorial intent, because here's the thing. Justin Roiland is a chaotic individual. And Justin Roiland, to my understanding, is kind of the idea guy. I don't think Justin Roiland knows what the fuck he's doing. Like, I think he's just, like, flying by the seat of his pants and hoping that it works. And usually it ends up working out. But then I feel like when enough pressure comes in, you get stuff like the Evil Morty climax, where it's just... it's not really an ending, and there's not really any stakes where there's personal... issues between the characters. Is like, I feel like at some point there might have been the idea of, oh yeah, no, this is Rick's first Morty, but then they let go of that because everyone predicted it and replaced it with just, nah, he's just a Morty who happens to be smart and wants out.
So you reckon they did a Game of Thrones season 8 with Evil Morty?
I don't know what that means, but I'm gonna assume the writers changed something because something was predicted, and
From what
therefore
I've heard,
they.
yeah.
Then yeah, that they. I think they might have. They probably did that just because of how nothing Evil Morty's like entire story was. It's just like, yes, my grand plan is to fucking leave, and that's it. I don't know who any of you are, and I have no beef with anyone. Like that's dumb. It's a dumb resolution. He's not a villain.
It's mad
Hey, but
because
they
like
lampshaded it.
yeah, it's mad because I remember like when we first watched that season 5 finale, and I remember like we loved like the resolution at the time. We thought that was a great revelation, but now we've had like as much time as we've had to like let it simmer. Like you're right, it is kind of underwhelming, really, that Evil Morty's entire plan the whole time it wasn't to like be some big bad. It was just to get the fuck out of Dodge, you know.
And getting the fuck out of Dodge. Here's the thing: destroying the Citadel, real cool. If we hadn't already seen it happen like twice.
Yeah.
Like the Citadel is just. Here's the thing: I feel like the Citadel got kind of retconned because like having our Rick be a founding member of the Citadel makes the Citadel seem kind of formidable, whereas before I feel like the implication of the Citadel was that these are all of the dumbest Ricks and Mortys who couldn't make it on their own, so they had to band together. Like they couldn't make it in their own universe, so they chose to join just fucking Rick and Morty capitalism.
Yeah,
And like
I can see it.
having that be retconned, so like, oh no, these are actually a bunch of smart Ricks because our Rick was one of them, but they're all dead. They're all really easy to kill anyway.
God, it's so funny how like obviously this is it's a stream to review the latest episode, but I think it kind of tells you all you need to know when it's like we spend like maybe not even really 20 minutes on that, and it's kind of just devolved into talking about the state of Rick and Morty as a whole. I think that kind of like to be meta like our good buddies Rick and Morty would, the actual thing reflects the topic at hand. It's real smart. We totally planned this. It was totally 100% intentional. That was the goal.
I'm not even gonna pretend to back what you just said, George. There's look,
because
episode 6 was good. I promise, guys. It just
that's just the whole like thing about it, though.
there's not a lot to talk about it. It was funny. Okay, it was funny and it was a fun story. I promise.
There just isn't really
really funny at times.
all that much to say. It's just kind of emblematic of like what modern Rick and Morty is in the present day, where it's like it's something that's funny, it's something that's entertaining and irreverent, and you can just like watch it and let it wash over you. But it's gotten to the point where like it just that's kind of all it really is, and it just kind of makes you reminisce of like when every single fucking episode they put out was iconic, whereas now it's. I mean, maybe it could just be that, like, maybe it could just be as simple as Rick and Morty's just gotten old, and it's just not, like, the draw that it was anymore. Like, it could just be something as simple as that.
Is it that we've grown up, or that Rick and Morty's gone stale?
It honestly, like, could be either, really. I don't know.
Rick and Morty's gone stale.
Yeah, probably. Like,
I've gone to Smiling Friends now.
I mean, yeah,
Which one's
Smiling
that?
Friends. Smiling Friends is goated. Have you not seen any Smiling Friends, Sarah? Because if not,
I've not seen any Smiling Friends. I'm sorry.
Then that's our next goal. That's Adult Swim's new poster child. Adult Swim's new baby. We gotta make sure we catch you up to make sure that by the time Smiling Friends starts to die off in its 3rd or 4th season, that you've fully been there for the hype.
It's gonna be so painful.
Honestly.
It's entropy. There's no way out of it. Like, that the show will always get bad with time.
For the sake of dumping a really loaded question onto you guys, what do you think that like Rick and Morty really needs, or like really needs to do, or needs to fix to like jump back from that point of being a show where it's like, yeah, it's okay, to being iconic again? Like, what do you guys think can save this show? What does it need? What's the remedy?
Lean more heavily into serialized content.
I was going to say the opposite.
Alright, well, there you go. Here's our discussion we can have to pad out this stream. Serialization versus episodicness. Like, here we go. Let's debate this shit. Let's go. I'll be the mediator.
Jay, you can go first.
I think if it's serialized, what we risk is just having a sort of one episode blending into the next, where it's just a long stream of sludge, like a current Marvel show, where no one really remembers any individual episodes, and it's more sort of just, because I mean, as it currently is, I picture that an attempt at serialization from the show just to be sort of, hey, we're doing one long story arc, but the episodes are still broadly the same.
Am I allowed to cite Daredevil as evidence against that? Because you said current Marvel show.
I'm sure. I mean, you know what? I don't think it's like unworkable, but I think the main thing that needs to be fixed is and I see this happening more easily with standalone content, is that I think we need episodes that go, that take their concept and go 2 step forwards, and also have just vaguely consistent characters. I think that's basically all that Series 4 had, and I think if we have season after season of Series 4 level content, Rick and Morty will be doing fine.
Season 4 also, I remember Season 4 having a bit of stinkers, but that might just be I could be mixing them up.
Well, Season 4 has it has obviously the dragon episode, which we all know sucks. It has the heist episode, which personally I know it's some people's cup of tea. It's really not mine.
It's my cup of tea. I love the heist episode.
The heist episode for me is another big stinker. I really don't like that one. I remember not liking the premiere originally. I've really come round to it in recent years. I actually think the premiere is really good. The death crystals.
I love the death crystals.
Yeah, Death crystals is always a dub.
And I actually thought the finale was pretty weak as well. They're doing a Star Wars. The Galactic Federation's just kind of back now, but it's after Clone Beth. I honestly thought like that was a really weak finale. I was never really a fan of that. But other than that, I think Season 4, literally everything other than that is actually straight bangers, to be honest, in my opinion.
Isn't the Star Wars episode the one where fucking Rick fights Bird Person? That shit was fire.
That was fire, but it was one scene.
True. It was also like a full 2 minutes of the 20 minutes, wasn't it? Like, I don't know. I liked the fucking like ship invasion, but yeah, it wasn't that funny. It was just hype.
I want to throw the one where Rick fights God onto the fire as well. If maybe not that one.
I wouldn't call it a stinker. I think Season 4, the episodes that I named previously are the stinkers. All the rest are bangers. I think that one's probably the only middling one, I'd say, out of them all. That's me, personally.
The Rick fights God, that's the one where Jerry goes camping, right?
Yeah, and the one where Rick impregnated the planet.
It really feels like a step down from stuff like Rick's relationship with Unity, where the whole thing is that Unity is this being that most people would find incomprehensible, and Rick is just sort of vibing with them.
Yeah.
Whereas Fucked a Planet feels like the sort of superficially similar, but ultimately lacking the substance of that. It feels like an ad-lib Chinese whisper version of the actual concept that was interesting. Hey, Rick, he's on a higher plane, he does like crazy space stuff. What if he had sex with a planet? That's zany, right?
Yeah. What if Rick was the hormone monster?
And it has like the post-credit scene where Rick's going through basically like Tinder but for planets.
Yeah.
I remember that being pretty funny, but only funny, didn't really get me thinking, which is a huge step down from Unity. You're right.
I want to see more concepts where it's just like, from concept alone, there's so much you could do with this. I would enjoy seeing an episode where they take the piss out of like multiverse content in its current wave, where they do like a whole load of licensed crossovers between other shows going into their universes, but then just fuck with them.
I can honestly
instead of having it be unironic, just have it be like this big fucking like, it's just a bunch of tongue-in-cheek references, but the point is just Rick destroys every universe.
I can honestly see that happening. I could see that being a thing in like next season or something. I wouldn't be surprised.
But it would be so easy to do it like in a cynical, soulless way. What you would want it to be, well, cynical and soulful, I guess. You would want it to actually have something to say. You would want it to reflect the current attitudes that are being driven to make all of this multiverse content in Hollywood in a clever 2 steps ahead of it kind of a way.
Cynical in a way that promotes
It
like
could
an
be
actual
really fun.
dialogue rather than just like, man, this thing is stupid, am I right?
Yeah, rather than just Rick being Rick as of the last couple seasons.
You know, just some other shows in there. Like I know they've already done a crossover with The Simpsons. I know that, you know, they could probably also get Smiling Friends. It would be fun to see.
I
And
think
it's like a...
I think the only other media crossover they've done is when they did that advert to promote Death Stranding. I think that's the only time we've really seen them in like a universe of another piece of media, because all the other ads
They did Space Jam too.
Oh, yep, I guess.
I've not seen Space Jam.
Big Chungus was in it, bro. You not seen the Big Chungus movie?
No.
You know
I haven't.
You know what's really funny? Going to see the Big Chungus movie, that was mine and my boyfriend's first date. That was literally our first date. But yeah, so Zach, what's your rebuttal in favor of more serialization then? I'm interested.
I'm not saying that like it should be like one after the next after the next after the next serialized episodes, but I do think there was something special about when something serialized happened. So for example, like the first 2 outings of Eye Patch Morty, right? It was taken completely seriously and you could feel the ramifications of it. I want that +1. So like instead of every other season, give us one piece of a serialized story a season at least. I just want that. Like I just want something to ground the story in a way that cuz it's what Rick said, right? Like during this episode, Rick is like, "Oh no, you closed the rift. It was canonical and shit. We could have milked that. Oh, it could have been a whole season." Like I'm not asking for a whole season. Just give me 1 per season, not every other season. Just 1 per season, you know? Like anything, like just something to ground the story consistently and give us reminders of where the characters are.
I think
because without that, like we have a huge problem.
I think there is at least one bit of connecting tissue each season. I mean, going back to last season, you had the continuation of Rick trying to help him fix Bird Person, bring him back from being Phoenix Person, and obviously there was the continuation of Evil Morty. Season before that, obviously, I was about to say obviously the Galactic Federation came up, but what even prompted that? What was even the inciting incident there? It
just kind of happened.
Oh no, it was Clone Beth being out in the universe, which came from season 3, I want to say.
That's not fully what I mean. Like,
no, right.
I don't mean 1 serialized episode per season. I mean 1 serialized episode per serialized arc. So Bird Person and Eye Patch Morty, separate stories. So in total, that's 2. I want 2 serialized episodes per season if there are 2 serialized stories currently going on. Like, I don't want to wait like I don't want to have a full season where the story that I am invested in just doesn't fucking happen.
I see. So
because there has been a bit of that. So like, if there's 3 serialized stories going on and there's 11 episodes, I want 3 episodes out of those 11 episodes to give me something.
Is there like an actual thing about that where it's like you think it like just makes the show so much better, or is it more just like, bro, I'm invested in these stories, stop dick teasing me?
Okay, it's half that. It's half that I don't want to be teased, but the other half is actually important because the serialized content, it's a reminder of where everyone is. It tells you, like, because everyone reacts to something that everyone is supposedly on the same page about. And that gives you a good reason to give consistent character development and to compare and contrast. Like, fucking fixing up Bird Person, Rick is a pretty good friend. Reminds us something about his character, you know?
Right.
Like, fucking... Evil Rick for this season. I'd be okay if we don't get Evil Rick for the finale of this season, because we already got him, but I would like him to, at the very least, be in the next season and do something important, because that's a storyline that's happening right now. And we saw how our Rick responded to Evil Rick this season. Seeing that again, like serialized content, historically speaking, has been where most of the character development happens. And with how inconsistent the characters have been, we need more like reminders of where everyone's at in that way, because it seems like the writers themselves are forgetting where they are in the story. It's like when you're reading a book and you lose your place and end up rereading the same line twice, or God forbid skipping a line and not having any idea what the fuck just happened, except you're the writer and it's your own story. I feel like more serialized content would stop that from happening, because the writers at the very least would be pretty much forced to give themselves a refresher every now and again.
So
I can agree with that.
So I guess to like try and like summarize what you guys are saying, I guess one strategy from you, Sarek, is like incentive to keep consistent characterization. Whereas with you, Jay, what you are mainly saying about leaning more into the episodic route, I mean, not to oversimplify your point, is more a reason to not have to worry about the consistent character development anymore, and instead have an excuse to do completely different and more creative takes on that characterization from episode to episode.
And basically, I was concerned that it would be. I see it as more plausible, right? Of just I see that as a more attainable goal from where they are at currently.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
To do that, to just lean into the episodic nature of it all and produce a few standalone bangers, but sort of that's all.
Right.
Because I would be very happy to see that kind of serialization where every new series does have to get a refresher to make it clear where we're at now. I don't see that happening very. I just don't see that happening in anytime soon.
Yeah,
I think sorry.
On top of that, I would be very worried to see any more serialization than that. I don't want to see series arc that takes up every episode kind of a thing.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I would not want to see that happen. You can do two, but I feel like for every story that's going one per season, I feel like that's fair, because they rarely ever have more than two going on anyway.
Yeah,
I feel like that'd be a good balance.
I'm trying to think like what would be the most ongoing stories we've had at once. Like obviously season 1 there wasn't really any much, but by the time you reach say season 2 or 3, I mean you've got Jerry and Beth's marriage, which I mean isn't even really a factor anymore. Like Jerry and Beth are just kind of good now, and that's just kind of how it is. Like that's done pretty much, that's wrapped up. You've had, I guess, Rick's troubles with the Galactic Federation, which again is a complete non sequitur in the show by this point. I mean, oh god, what else? I'm drawing a blank now on like the different ongoing stories. I guess Evil Morty. I guess now Rick Prime's been introduced. Clone Beth. Again, like a lot of these now just kind of feel like they're non sequiturs. It feels like we're kind of we've kind of reached a point where the serialization, it isn't even really making as big of an impact now, because it feels like a lot of what they wanted to do with the characters has been wrapped up. It's like, yeah, we've had Rick Prime in this season and the Central Finite Curve being opened, but again, for the most part, they just kind of feel like non sequiturs. It feels like we now are kind of doing the more episodic thing that they always wanted to do, where it's like, yeah, we're having adventures with the Smith family that kind of go from episode to episode, and like occasionally we'll reference some lore stuff going on in the background, but like it feels like lore stuff is kind of at an all-time low, which feels really weird to say, because I don't know if you guys remember, like before this season came out, I can't remember if it was Dan Harmon or Justin Roiland who was teasing the season, saying like, oh, this season is like so canonical, like it's so built on the canon and the lore, and like it's a quality season. But
I feel like they were fucking with us.
Because outside of episode 1, we haven't really seen that like at all, really.
Let's see what happens next.
like
we got
it kind of came back in this episode, but like it kind of did a thing where like I've been really annoyed at Rick and Morty doing lately, where it's like they'll do like a lore thing, but like it won't actually be in service to the lore. It'll be in service of like a gag. Like in this episode's case, the dinosaurs closing the rift to spite Rick.
And like Rick is just really like, oh, it's weird because like it's the exact opposite, and I feel like this is a huge microcosm of what's wrong with the characterization in the show. Rick is annoyed. Like the purpose of Rick being annoyed with something lore related is that he wanted to take advantage of something that was canonical. Whereas in episodes prior, he's annoyed with lore related shit because he doesn't want to deal with canonical shit. And I feel like the writers don't even see a difference between these two things. They're just like, okay, what's something that Rick does? He's annoyed at lore shit. So let's just have him be annoyed at this lore shit happening. And like, Rick is kind of running the show. So a lot of that bleeds into like how we perceive the story, and the story telling us that we shouldn't be invested in something that they've set up is a huge L on the show's part.
That's what really bothered me about the end of season 5, yeah.
Yeah, like, however, there is progress because the beginning of season 6, like the first episode with Evil Rick, they played it completely straight. Rick was as invested in the story as the rest of us, and the Rift was an extension of Evil Morty. So I'm kind of okay with this as long as the story that we have right now, like the proper story that was established at the beginning here, Rick takes seriously. If Rick from this point forward takes canonical shit seriously, at least canonical shit that's meant to be taken seriously, because the Rift was window dressing. I don't mind Rick making a gag out of the Rift because, I mean, the alternative is doing something important with the Rift, but it's just a fucking Rift. What's the point? Unless they're going to literally bring Cthulhu out of it, I don't see anything like that we're losing by that gag happening. But if Rick takes actual canonical serialized shit seriously, say that 5 times fast, I'll be happy. Because then we're not gonna get as long as season 5 finale never happens again, I'm cool with it.
Right. The thing that you said, Jay, about like them turning it completely episodic and maybe focusing on like a Morty from a different universe each episode, I could see that happening if like, say we reach season 10 when like the show in its current form is due to come to an end, and Adult Swim does commission more, and then they're forced to keep Rick and Morty going. I could see them doing it beyond that point, where it's like we've kind of told the whole overarching story that we want to tell. We've kind of got nothing left in that department, so fuck it, let's just go universe to universe each episode with a completely different Rick and Morty. I could see that being the culmination of Rick and Morty being like forced to continue past its like however long it was originally intended, and then they just decide to just fall back on that as a strategy. I could see that happening, maybe.
I could see that, yeah.
Although, to be fair, if we're being realistic, Adult Swim would probably be like, hey, where's the serialized shit? Like, that's where half of our fan base is. You need views, do it.
I also kind of want to see the world where Rick and Morty, after Series 3, didn't do Series 4 and instead focused on, like, a cinematic movie. Not live action, but, like...
a feature-length episode, like the SpongeBob movie. Like
a feature-length cinematic release. Like the like Simpsons movie kind of thing.
Yeah.
The Rick and Morty movie, that could be cool. I could see, like, if they do lean into, like, say, doing a different universes Rick and Morty each time, I could see that them doing like a what if kind of thing, where it's like every now and then they do a universe that's like a divergent timeline from an older episode, where it's like, oh, what if this thing didn't happen the way it did, and we're now seeing the universe where it played out like that. That'd be kind of cool.
God, fucking how many layers deep do you have to be to like have a show about multiverse fucking travel start delving into what if shit for the one canonical universe that like, how many layers is that of like, we're a show where nothing matters because there's infinite versions of us, but hey, never mind, this is the real version of us that you're following. But what if this real version of us that you're following was in a different universe, and you got to watch that in a different universe that's separate from the real ones of us that you're following?
Well, it's kind of been like that since the beginning, though, isn't it? There's always been like a core Rick and Morty. It's just
Yeah, but now imagine like we're watching what ifs, but what ifs of the core characters, which aren't the core characters. It just be like that's already a canonical thing that happens because Rick always says this is happening infinite times across infinite universes. So if we start doing that, then like I don't know. It's like it's multi-layered in both directions.
It's weird. It's real fucking weird. I feel like we're probably nearing the end of this stream. I feel like we've definitely, like, again, we exhausted things about to say about the actual episode really quickly. I'm actually kind of glad that the stream did end up going this way, though, because I think it's, like, it's appropriate since we're at the mid-season hiatus, and, well, I say that, like, the new season, well, say new season, the new episode airs tomorrow night. Like it's served as
really?
Yeah, it's served as a good mid-season reflection, I think, where it's like, yeah, the new season, it's like it's fine. We're definitely not stooping to the lows that the show has in the past, but there's definitely some like, I mean, it's kind of how the show's been for a good while, and it having a lot of potential, but just kind of pissing it up the wall, really. Not being outrageously bad, more just it could be doing so much more, and it's not entirely obvious what could be done to fix those problems.
Yeah, there's multiple solutions, but like all of them come with sacrifices.
I mean, I guess I'm interested to see like how things progress beyond like beyond this episode now that Rick's got portal travel fixed, because it's been really strange seeing a season that's rather than Rick and Morty, it's the Smith family. I think that's been interesting, but obviously that was never going to be like the core dynamic forever. So I'm interested to see some, I guess, quote unquote, like they keep saying, classic Rick and Morty adventures again, even though they've been saying that for like 3 fucking seasons straight at this point.
But, I feel like they just feel obligated to at this point, just because they see the criticism and they're like, we promise we can do better. We swear.
Since we're 6 episodes in, let's reflect on, say, where season 5 was 6 episodes in, where we had obviously the Mr. Nimbus episode up to, I'm pretty sure by this point in season 5 we'd had the Pain Demons and the Turkeys. One of those was the most recent episode. Do you guys think that so far, based just on the first 6 episodes, that season 6 has been an improvement over season 5 overall? Do you think?
I'm looking up the episodes as we speak.
It's an interesting question to me, because, like, I mean, I value the first 3 episodes of Series 5 so much more than anything that's happened in Series 6. However, 6 episodes into Series 5, I was going, oh fuck, if they just ruined the show now.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Season 5 has Mr. Nimbus, but Season 6 has Evil Rick.
Yeah, that's
and I would say that those are a tie. I would put those on a tie, so I'm really only comparing the next 5 episodes. But in the next 5 episodes, Season 5 has Horse Cum and Turkeys. So I gotta give it to 6, man. Like there's really no arc. There's nothing to talk about here as far as I'm concerned. It's fucking Horse Cum and Turkeys versus everything we've got so far, and nothing we've got so far is even close to that bad.
It's kind of skewed for me because I think that the season 6 premiere is one of the best episodes we've had in a long time, easily since season 4, maybe even season 3. But then season 5 also opened up with like 2 great episodes and one that I thought was pretty good. But then the couple after that, well, like more 2 or 3 after that were ranging from dog shit to just kind of meh. I think season 6, maybe excluding season 1, hasn't hit as high highs, but it's definitely hit like nowhere near as low lows either. So like that's why I posed the question, because I think it's interesting to compare the two in terms of their first 6 episodes, because they're very different beasts, and it's interesting hearing which people prefer, I guess.
Well, we're only talking about 6 episodes, and that means a whole third of season 5's first 6 is gay. Like, just bad. Just real bad. Like, I know that's a gamer moment. I have nothing against the gays. I'm a little gay myself sometimes. But it's real bad.
Honestly, I would much rather lose Series 6 than 5. That's where I've just got to in my head. And there is absolutely nothing in Series 6 that I particularly care about losing. It's like,
You're telling me you're not into Evil Rick?
I am absolutely not into Evil Rick. I didn't give a shit about Evil Rick.
Oh no!
Why, you dislike him, or like you're just kind of meh on him?
I found nothing interesting about the series premiere. I didn't think I guess I just didn't. There was just it just sort of glossed over me. I was like, okay, I guess that's what they're doing then. Whereas, there are 3 episodes in Series 5 where I'm like, oh, I value those. I would very much like to keep those. But I don't think Series 6 ever stoops to the lows of Series 5. At least not in the episodes I've seen.
Fucking Matt quoting me and shit.
But based on the highs of Season 5, you've got to plonk with that then, I take it.
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because it's like... I think it gets much worse, but it's the only one that has content in it that I would care about losing.
Interesting.
It's not like it also does so much more damage though, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's what's interesting, and it's also mad what you say about the premiere because again, like us two, like we loved the Season 6 premiere, didn't we? We thought it went so hard, so. Again,
true, but like if you approach it from the perspective of not really caring about Evil Rick, then you really do have to give it to Season 5 because that means that there's nothing to stand up to Mr. Nimbus, and when you can't stand up to Mr. Nimbus, your season has nothing.
I guess it depends. I guess it depends on whether you take a season that has a lot of great stuff, but also has a lot of complete shit, over a season that overall is just pretty good, and.
I just realized something.
What's that?
Both seasons premiere with Rick's arch nemesis.
Yeah. Mr. Nimbus versus Rick Prime. Yeah,
who would win?
That's a showdown I want to see. But
same.
This is definitely because I also love the premiere so much, but I do have to give it to 6 because, like, yeah, I did like Multiplicity, and I did think that, I can't even remember the name of the episode, but Morty and Planetina, like, half really good, half kind of crappy, to be honest, but I take the bulk of the episodes of Season 6 so far that have been like ranging from meh to actually pretty good over like the episodes starting off last season where it's like, yeah, they were good, but then it just completely falls off a cliff and just turns to complete doo-doo, personally. So I gotta give it 6 so far, personally, but I mean, it's obviously like you say, we've only got half a season, we've still got to see how the rest plays out. But
Season 6 might give us the equivalent of horse cum in the second half.
Well,
I don't want to see it, but we have to be ready for it.
Well, I hope. Wait, sorry.
I love that it gets consistently called the horse cum episode, even though it doesn't actually feature any horse cum.
No, it was Morty's cum, but like horse cum just feels more accurate.
Yeah.
Because I hear so many people refer to it as the horse cum episode, and like. I agree, right? It is the horse cum episode. I just think it's funny that name for it is stuck.
Yeah.
To be fair, if we're talking about what makes the episode bad, it's literally just the cum episode. But horse cum just feels more visceral. It has more bite to it.
You know how in Season 4 we had the Vat of Acid episode? Well, for this episode, they should have called it the horse cum episode rather than.
Oh my god!
Rather than
that would actually. That would actually give me some goodwill to it. If it was called the horse cum episode, I would at least appreciate the balls on them for that.
If they were honest about how little they cared about the plot.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the Vat of Acid episode, by the way? Like, that was such a good episode.
Definitely a newer classic, yeah. Man, okay, you know what? I think we're almost certainly reaching the end of this. I think we've had a lot to say. You know what, purely because Jay's here, we've actually had a decent amount of activity in chat, so I'm just going to go through that real quick, see if there is anything interesting to say.
Yeah, Foxy deserves some recognition.
Yeah, the one Foxy's been doing a lot of talking. The overarching story is what a lot of people used to be invested in, but it feels like writers don't care about the story themselves, only seen up to Season 5. Fair. When they revealed Rick's backstory and it was like, why do you care about the story we set up and made interesting? I'd rather just ignore the story than passive-aggressive about it. Yes, a million times yes. If you're
you have also seen LS Mark's video.
But it's also like, if you're really going to give us all that backstory, it's like, why are you so pissy about it? Like, bro, if you don't want to do it, then don't fucking do it,
Yeah, it's really annoying. Like, it's objectively bad, contradictory writing.
Remember when it first came out and everyone was comparing it to Gravity Falls? Well, yeah, we all remember the good old days. It used to be called the incest one, but that's not as useful a name anymore. Oh yeah, because Morty and Summer's incest baby, that was a thing. And they fucking brought it back in the Gotron episode to help out with that plot. They fucking brought the incest baby back.
I don't know why they were so proud of the fucking cum episode, man.
I mean, even now in season 6, is it still up there in space, just chilling? Did it get taken somewhere or anything?
It is my current headcanon that the dinosaurs, on their way to their new planet, destroyed the incest baby episode to spare us. Not even the incest baby, the whole episode.
Just wipes it from time. Probably would be better that way. But, yeah, I think we've reached a good point to wrap this up. We've been going for like a decent amount of time that we normally would for the other streams. And, yeah, we reviewed the episode at least a bit, as much as we could squeeze out of it, but I also had a good mid-season reflection, which is nice, which is real good. Do you guys have any thoughts you want to inject in here to wrap this up with?
No.
I think we covered everything.
Nah, we got it all out. That's absolutely fair enough. Well, alright then. Well, thanks to all the people who tuned in. Like, so many more people did than the last few streams, which I really appreciate it. It's nice. Like, don't get me wrong. I know exactly why you're all here, but I'm just gonna, like, take it for my own ego. Pretend it was for us. I'm just gonna...
I have a channel.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say next. You'll find links to everyone in the description, obviously. Sak is down there under EmperorZarikar. Go check him out. He recently posted a banger, and he's got more on the way. Like, good stuff coming through the Zarikar pipeline. It's all good. Obviously, loads of people are only here because they know who Jay is, so it doesn't really mean much. But obviously, Jay's channel is in the description under Jay Exci. Go check her out. She is an absolute wonderful human being who makes great stuff. She's down there as well. There's plenty of stuff there for her of hers to check out if you're one of like the one people here who hasn't seen her stuff. And yeah, I think that's about it for us. So yeah, the rest of the season will be airing over the next few weeks. Obviously, me and Sak will be talking about it. Jay, can we expect you to drop back into the stream for the season finale? Would you be willing to do that?
Sure.
Hell yeah.
And
depending on when that is, because I might be away, but probably.
I mean, knowing Rick and Morty, it could be like 100 million years from now. Like, we can't trust them to not do another break.
You mentioned like it's possible that the rest of the season will give us the equivalent of the sperm episode. The title of the finale is Analyze Piss. So I'm very hopeful about that. I'm very hopeful about that.
You know what? I like that piss is in it. It's a funny word.
Yeah, there's a nice sense of humor to it. You know, it's very. I think it taps into those childlike sensibilities in all of us. You know, it's a golden gag. It's a real golden gag. Literally, get it?
Oh, golden gag.
You get it? You get it? It's like a joke. It's like a joke.
It's a P.
Dan Harmon would be very proud of me for that one, I think.
I'd like to take a moment to thank Kibo for what he said most recently. Thank you, Kibo.
God, when we get back in VC later, he's going to be absolutely flaming you, and it's going to be hilarious.
Yeah, he's just going to fucking roast me. It's like, God, Sarek, what the fuck, man?
Alright, I think that about wraps it up. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Thanks to these two beautiful, sexy-licious humans for joining me, and we will be seeing you again soon. Goodbye.
Don't do anything stupid while we're gone.
I liked when Rick said he was on a plane.
Oh yeah, that's gonna get like a huge flashback moment. What? Like one of the whole episodes is just gonna be a flashback of Rick during 9/11 or some shit. Like, yes, I've been on a plane.
Why do we always end these streams on such goofy lines?
It's actually really fun to do an episode